What up, YouTube? Brand new episode, brand new vlog video today. Great news for everybody who's been following me. I'm gonna start live streaming, and I'm gonna start, creating content in real time for you guys. But that's of course not what this video is about. This actual video is actually about giving you guys an update on the fragrance business. We got a whole bunch of flavorful different fragrances and whatnot, and I'm currently in the process of shipping out 50 bottles and whatnot. So just want to go ahead and take you guys with me as we currently working on filling one of our bigger orders. Like I said, a lot of people don't know that in the oil game, we do make a decent amount of money off the wholesale. We just really don't post about it. And one thing I started to realize is that a lot of people in the oil business don't post about the oil business. A lot of this business is kind of person to person, face to face, and there's not really anybody really documenting the journey on YouTube. So something new that I've started, of course, with the other things that I do on my main channel, I actually want to start showcasing, what we actually do in the oil business. And number one, how we make a decent amount of money doing it. So number one, so I'm shipping out 50 bottles. This is one of the stands that will be shipped out in the 25 pack that I'm about to ship out shortly. These people, they not only they want a whole bunch of various different options so they can resell and whatnot, but also they wanted some pounds. And the great thing about my business is we have our own pounds. Whatever scent you guys need, we got them. We can ship anywhere, whether it's Australia, whether it's Canada. I've shipped a lot of fragrances to Canada. Where else have I shipped to? Okay. I haven't shipped out to Asia yet, but I did make a lot of decent connections when I was in Asia. The plan this year actually is to go and start traveling again and kind of building that outreach like we did last year in Europe. And traveling last year actually taught me that, it's a lot of people that love the brand and a lot of people love the smell goods. I mean, it's something that it's low cost to get into, but can make a lot of money relatively super fast. Matter of fact, at the time of this recording, today's actually Saturday, and I'm actually supposed to be out and about selling, but it's storming right now. So, while it's storming, we currently getting the business in order. We got the 50 count stands for any of you guys, who need the 100 count stands. We got those too. It really kind of just depends, what you guys need. But, the oil business, like I said, one of the best businesses. I recently just dropped something brand new that I'm actually about to put on the website shortly. It's called Eli's Oud. One of the most fire fragrances that I've made. For anybody who likes the satin oud, it's fire, Thing I will say about being in the oil business that a lot of people should definitely be aware of is that, if you're going to get into this type of business, you definitely have to commit to this business, right? I was one of those people who started out with the super small bottles, and I don't have any small bottles anymore because I don't really sell them anymore, but I still have the small bottle stand, right? So this is my original small bottle stand that I used to go out and sell with. So this holds about 100 small bottles, right? And one thing I realized with my oil business is that when I started with the small bottles, they sold, but I started to realize, my stuff not selling how I wanted to sell. And, with somebody like myself, growing up in the South, not like, you go to New York, you go to Philly, you go to any of those areas up north, everybody got small bottles, everybody doing numbers with the small bottles. One thing that I learned that was different that people were doing in Philly, selling the big bottles, these 1 ounce bottles, or even the pounds, and they were making a killing. And that's kind of what kind of inspired me to kind of just cut the fluff with the small bottles. And then, a couple years ago, we went pretty much full time with the big bottles. And when I went full time with the big bottles, I tell you guys, people buying them left and right. As soon as I pull up with the big stand, whether I got a 25 count stand or even the 50 count stand or even the 100 count stand, people are buying it. As soon as I pull the stand out, people are buying it. Of course, you're going to get your nose every single day, but one of the better businesses to where, you know, if you, somebody like myself who I run a real estate business, you know, you don't make money every single day in real estate. In real estate, you know, you make money in big lump sums every time you close a deal. But, you know, deals can sometimes take 20 to 45 days or even 90 days to close, depending on if you're doing commercial or residential. But with the fragrance business, you know, and I learned from some real deal people who, what I would say, they mastered the game at a super duper high level. And of course I would shout them out, but this video is about me and, you know, what I did in the business. And I learned the business from people who were doing it at a super high level, people who didn't have branding of any sort, and they made millions of dollars on the street without even the type of branding that I have. You know, I had people who were real deal making like a lot of money just doing it from scratch. What I will say about this business is, like, you know, you can make hundreds and thousands of dollars. I actually know a couple of guys that are like outside of the wholesale side of their business, on the retail side of their business, their branding is not the best. They're clearing 1,000 bottles a month at like $15 to $20 per bottle, and they're doing like an easy $20K a month just off retail, not even including the wholesale orders that they get, you know. So that's something that I kind of, you know, took that business model and actually built my business. That's how we kind of get reoccurring revenue from various different of our people who not only resell with us, but also, you know, the various different companies that we do source to, whether it's smoke shops, vape shops, cigar lounges, hair stores, and of course, you know, just our typical day-to-day people who, you know, have their little shops and they're kind of interested in possibly, you know, starting a business to where they actually want to sell products. So it's definitely a business that, of course, I highly recommend. You know, if you guys want to get into the business, highly recommend you get into it. Is that the fragrance business is just in general, is, you know, a business that's super low cost that you can get into. Of course, you know, you guys want to actually get into it. You want to get into it with somebody who's young, who actually knows the business. Hit me up. You know, I'm here to help. You know, like, I have wholesale packs available. Of course, check the description. And, you know, I'm actually excited to actually be documenting my journey and actually growing this business on YouTube, along with all the other stuff that I got going on YouTube, and actually showcasing it in real time. You know, I should have, like, for example, right, yesterday was Friday, right? Walking around at the hospital with my oil stand, made a couple sales at the people who were, there was like a food truck at the hospital. Pulled up the food truck. I was like, yo, man, y'all ready some oils? Made a sale super quick. It's easy. Or, you know, going to the coffee shop, got the oils on me. Dang, bro, what's that smell? You smell good. You know, it's really kind of that simple. And the biggest thing I worked, like, you know, with being in the business was just posting up. Of course, you know, picking a place where you got to post up and just getting straight to it, you know. Sometimes you got to talk to over 100 people per day. I mean, my goal, you know, when I'm out and about, when I'm not, you know, fulfilling other orders or handling other obligations, is like every single day, the goal is to talk to at least 100 people within 2 hours. Every single person that comes your way. If that's the goal every day, and you at least make, you know, let's say 33 transactions, you clearing $600 to $1,000 a day minimum. When I learned that, that's when I started to take the fragrance business super serious. And I actually replicated it and started teaching a lot of my other people who, what I would say, I taught them the business. They got into the wholesale business with me, and now they're, you know, they're killing it. You know, every time they come to me, they're just coming to re-up. And the good thing about the business is that, number one, it was legal. and you can make relatively fast cash super quick. You know, it's been plenty of time in my real estate business where we spent so much money that, you know, a lot of people in the real estate business, you know, their bounce back is going to go take on extra loans. My bounce back was going to go get a whole bunch of oils and, you know, re-up and let's run it. And it got to the point to where it's like, okay, you know, my product is so good that, you know, as soon as I pull them out, they're doing numbers. You know, I just got a review, you know, the people who I ran into at the hospital and I made the sales over there, they were so impressed with the fragrances that I sold to them that they were like, yo, I need some more of this. When can you pull back up? And then they were like, yo, like, you know, you should like leave this thing here so we can sell it for you. I was like, yo, like, come and tap in with me on the wholesale, bro. I got you. So, you know, it's being in the business is probably one of the better businesses that I've been in part of and started, and it relatively changed my life. And, you know, of course, you know, if any of you guys want to actually get into it, make some decent money relatively fast. I mean, this business is all about what you put into it. If you put in the hours and actually just put in the work as far as talking to people every single day, there's no way you're not going to make money. I swear. You know, and typically, you know, this is the type of business where people have to see it, but as soon as they see it, a lot of people, you know, either they like it or they don't, and they hooked. But, you know, with our wholesale options, you know, we got pretty much some of the best scents on the market that we craft and hand make ourselves, to where not too many people is not gonna like our scents unless they just hating, which comes with the business. But make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. I got more content coming to you like this in real life, in real form. Be on the lookout for the new live streams. Be on the lookout for the new content that I am about to drop. And of course, go check out some of my other channels, the real estate channel, the commentary channel, and the other channels I got.